Hey, welcome to episode 1 of the Unlearn and Rebuild podcast. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time, and fears always stop me from pushing forward. And I just decided I cannot keep doing that if I want to progress forward. And I realized that I was doing that because I was always setting a standard on what my show should look like. I had an idea of what the podcast should look like, perfectly themed set, great graphics, a great intro, all that jazz. And I realized that if I kept setting this standard perfection, I would never launch anything. And that's unfortunately been a common thing for me. If it's not perfect, it's not going to be launched. Like I literally have terabytes of stuff between Dropbox and Google Drive of things that I've not launched out of fear because I felt someone did it better or there was no point. There was always one reason or the other that I would create, but I would never execute and put things in the public. And I also have this thing of thinking, when I've been when someone's pressurized me to do something specific, I get nervous, I freeze. And you can tell me right now, I want you to plan this piece of content about your past. And then sometimes I'll freeze because I'll be like, oh my gosh, you're making me do it under pressure. So I decided I was going to kind of do things differently. I was just going to create when something was in my mind or just when I felt like it. I wasn't going to set a time. I wasn't going to tell myself I was going to create 5 times a week. I was just going to do and see where I go. So here I am launching this imperfect podcast with the hope of improving as I progress versus getting everything perfect the first time round. The idea of Unlearn and Rebuild, and I've gone through multiple iterations of the name, and then I settled on Unlearn and Rebuild, which will hopefully make sense for you in a minute. That the years between 2021 and 2024 were groundbreaking for me. That they were literally life changing years. And at that time, I didn't see it. Things were just so shitty, and I couldn't see how life was going to get better at that time. And I've been in the online world since 2015 because that was when my second son was born. And I've seen a lot and I've been through a lot. And I feel like being exposed with the online world, exposing you to other people's lives or the perception of their life they want you to have had a part to play in everything that I was going through. This is not to blame anyone. This is just me explaining what was going through my mind at that time. But it wasn't all bad. I had wins. I had many losses, but I had wins. But the losses took me to a point where I shut everything down in 2022 because that was when I had one of the worst breakdowns of my life. I couldn't recognize myself. My kids couldn't recognize me. I don't think anyone around me could recognize me. There was no talking to me. There was no convincing me that this is just a blip in my life and things were going to get better. I was just stuck in this dark space and I draw so many people away. That's one of the things that still hurts. But I think if I could turn back time, unless I knew what I know now, I'd have probably done the same thing. But one thing I've realized about being in the online space is so easy to attach your identity and your worth of who you are based on things that you do, right? Oh, you're a good tech person, or you're good at Pinterest, whatever. And then when you stop being good or when people stop identifying you as being great at those things, you kind of lose who you are. So I feel like I had that as well that I was going through when I lost myself in 2022. I was really trying to figure out, okay, without all of that, who am I? Who am I when everyone thought I was bad at what I was doing? Yeah. Who was I when all the people that I used to associate myself with no longer wanted to associate with me? I think I've realized for a very long time, I've always based my worth on what other people said or felt about me. So my worth went up and down because it wasn't defined by what I thought my worth should be. It was if someone thought I was great, I felt great. When someone thought I was bad at something, I felt bad. So as you can imagine, if my performance wasn't consistent, the feelings I had towards myself were very inconsistent. And it's now 2025, and I can honestly say that I've learned a lot from myself, my past, while doing the work to improve myself. But one thing I realized was that whilst I was doing the work, there weren't many people who were talking about life after recovery from a perspective that I could relate to. That I've seen a lot of successful entrepreneurs come online and they'll take a break to be with family, etc., then they'll come back and they'll be like, I had to take a break. But let's face it, their perspective is not going to be the same as mine. I am not going to have the experiences that they had. So they probably had 7 figures and could probably travel the world or, do whatever they wanted. And that's not a bad thing. And I think that everyone aspires to be like that. So it would be silly of me to hate on them for that. But my point is that I still couldn't relate to what they went through in that period of time because there's things that they likely had access to that I don't. I'm working towards it, but I don't. And I just wanted to find more people like me. I don't make 7 figures a year. I'm a single mom, newly divorced. I'm neurodivergent with also a mental health condition that I am managing right now. I have 3 children, and 2 of them also are neurodivergent at different degrees. So one more extreme than the other. Don't really have a support system. I'm also navigating a kind of physical health challenge. And I have now accepted that I'm riddled with trauma that kind of seeps through my adulthood, and I'm trying to work through that now. And I couldn't find many people that could relate with all of those things, right? It's not to say they're not out there, they're just not in my circles. I decided to just simply start documenting the things that I've been through and the things that have taught me a life lesson. And to be honest, this is something I wanted to do for a while. And one of my eldest sons, he went through a medical condition about 5 years ago. And it's funny because I was kind of doing the same thing when I was going through this with him. I was kind of looking for parents that have been through the same thing, but the condition was very rare for his age because it should have been caught when he was younger, but the doctors just didn't take it seriously. So there weren't many cases of children of my son's age going through it. And I felt so alone. I felt so lost because what he was going through at that age is very different to what a baby would gone through. A baby's none the wiser. So when your son's older, you're navigating the emotional things your child is going through versus the physical. And that I think from that moment, saw the importance of documenting, but I didn't document because that was his health journey and I didn't know how he felt about me putting that out there. So I didn't. And when I was going through what I was going through, I was remembering that and I was like, I should start documenting. And then I procrastinated, then I got scared because there's other people that make parts of my story. And I was worried about the backlash I'd get from them from sharing my perspective. But then again, I realized I was going into this pattern of protecting people who didn't have my best interest at heart. And again, I was suffering. And one thing I've come to realize during my recovery period is I grew up being told not to talk about my problems. And I didn't realize how much that was hurting me. And as I started navigating and finding myself, I found that whether it's journaling or talking, it really does help me get things out there and it makes me move forward versus bottling it in. Because when you're bottling it in, it just feels like it's suppressed and it wants to come out, but it can't. And then until you get it out, you feel like you can't move on. So all of this started because I went on a mission in 2015 when my back condition started. When I started having issues with my back, I gave up work because I was just becoming an unreliable employee. Okay, yes, I couldn't help it, but me leaving would allow them to hire someone else to put in my spot. So I was in a mission that at that time I realized, okay, if I can't work, I need to figure out how I can earn money from home. I had just had my son as well. And I did try to apply for another job, but where the job I was in at that time paid me really well. So when I tried to get the same job elsewhere, the pay difference was vast and I just couldn't afford it. And at that time, my ex-husband was like, okay, you can just stay home then. So I stayed home, but I realized staying home took away things like money to look after myself, etc. And I wanted that freedom to, be able to get my hair done and my nails done, whatever. So I was trying to find a job at home, and thankfully I did because we separated in 2019. Just got my divorce this last month, January 2025, and developing that skill prior to him leaving allowed me to figure out how to continue making money from home, albeit it was very inconsistent. So some months I would rely on government support, some months I didn't. But the point is, I had this skill, and I developed that skill to where I am now. And one thing I didn't realize was when you start an online business, there's a part of personal growth that comes with it. And I wasn't prepared for that. So as I'm on this path to build my income source for myself and my family, the end goal is always to be financially free, not because I'm trying to be Mrs. Independent. I don't think I've ever been the person that I want to be a single independent woman. No, I've always known that I wanted to do life with a partner. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. And I enjoy the stability of a 9 to 5. So this is not to say that a 9 to 5 is horrible, but the dynamics just didn't work for me. And even when I tried to find another job, like I said, the dynamic didn't work and the income didn't make sense. I was losing more by going to work, if that made sense. So I realized that in order for me to really make this work, I had to go through that personal growth. It's been a pivotal part of me earning income at home. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like it's us work from home people who experience a lot of these emotional changes. And when you're online, you don't really have a community, which is why I want to do this. And I want to talk about so much. Like, I want to talk about how my past impacted, my family impacted who I am now. I want to talk about how my relationship with my partner impacted my relationship with other people, my business. And I want to talk about some of the embarrassing and the shameful mistakes that I've made in my business that have impacted my future decisions in a positive way. And these are conversations that I don't really hear anyone talking about. And in a world where, we're in an era where everything's been taken over by AI, I really do feel like real life experiences, connection, perspectives are going to be so important. And that's what I really want to share right now. AI can't imitate that. Yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess it could. But I feel like with AI growing, there's a need for community. I don't really like going out, but even I'm feeling like a need for community, for people that have been through what I've been through or going through what I'm going through. And I want to be able to speak as me. I want people to know me, not the girl with the skill. This is an experiment for me. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm hoping it does. And I've often been told when I speak, I inspire. And a lot of the times I'm like, I don't see that, but okay. But I want to lean into that gift. I'm always told something about myself, like you're good at this or you're good at that. And I kind of shrug it off and I don't take a moment to just say thank you. I know I've worked hard at that and I'm really trying to own that part of me. And I'm hoping that I can do that through sharing my stories. And I'm just going to lean into it and see where it goes. And if I can just help one or two people learn from my mistakes, learn from my experiences, learn from my growth, then I think that will make me feel good. So that's the intro in terms of what you can expect from the Unlearn and Rebuild podcast. It's just about me going through everything that I've been through, the things that I've overcome, and how I'm using that to rebuild myself to be a better person, a person that I can be proud of, a person that I can love. Some of these things are going to be very uncomfortable for me to talk on, but I think it's necessary and it helps kind of show the reality of what you go through as a person when you're running an online business. I can't really say what it's like when you have a personal brand. I don't have a personal brand. But one thing that I learned from Alex Hormozi was a lot of the times people don't have anything to say because they haven't done anything and, you go out and do shit. Now, I'm not a person that goes out to do much, but I have been through a lot. And I know that there's people that have been through some of the things that I've been through and they haven't been as strong. And maybe it's because they didn't have the support system. Maybe they felt alone. Maybe if someone like me was sharing my story, they could have listened to the story and that could have helped. I don't know. But I know for me, when I see someone who's been through something and they share the story on YouTube or a podcast, I take inspiration. It really does give me perspective. And then it gives me an opportunity to really look at my life and see how I can improve because they've done it too. Now, when you do things like that, you do have to be careful because you need to look at their dynamic. Like maybe they have a support system that you don't. But at the same time, I've grown to a place where I no longer say it's easier for you to do it because you had this and that. And now I can look at other people and be like, wow, okay, what can I learn from that? What can I take from that to be a better person? So this is me rambling. I do apologize, but I'm hoping that you got to know why this podcast started and what I hope to achieve by sharing my stories. And I'll see you on the next episode.